Okay, welcome everyone and thank you for coming. Firstly, I'd like everyone to introduce themselves. I'm Meg Taberner, Debbie's kindergarten teacher.
I'm Jill, I'm Debbie's foster mother.
I'm Brittany, I'm her preschool teacher.
I'm Larissa, I'm Debbie's occupational therapist.
And I'm Erica, I'm the fax worker assigned to Debbie's case.
Okay. I'd also like to pass on the principal's apologies as they can't make today's meeting. Before we start, I'd like to say how amazing Debbie is. We'll be focusing on her, what she can't do, but this no means defines her individual personality. So this school prides itself on respect and equality for all learners. We aim to cater for all learner types and so that they can maximise their learning potential and help them become confident and capable learners. We'll focus on children's skills and learning styles to achieve this academically. And the aim of today's meeting is to benefit Debbie and make her reach her full potential.
Wonderful. So in front of you is each plan of today's meeting, so feel free to flick through.
So Jill, can you just firstly tell us a little bit about Debbie?
Yep, sure. Myself and my husband Terry are Debbie's foster parents. Unfortunately, Debbie was taken away from her mother at the age of 4 due to drug and alcohol dependencies. Debbie is a hands-on child. She loves to explore and play in her environment. She's very independent and at times can be very stubborn. At times this can leave her getting really frustrated as she doesn't like to ask for help. But she does have a great personality and, we all just want what's best for her.
Yep. So Erica, can you give us an overview of Debbie's birth mother?
Sure, so I first met Debbie's mum Jane when Debbie was about 3.5 years old. At this time, Debbie was an outpatient at a mental facility and had been a client here for about 10 months. Jane expressed that since the children had been placed, she had struggled with depression and alcohol drinking. During this meeting, she did disclose she drinks about 2 bottles of wine a night. Jane had tried to get a drinking habit under control by attending AA meetings, checking herself into rehabilitation, but was unsuccessful in completing this. She has a long history with mental health and drug abuse, with 3 hospitalisations over the past 10 years related to drug-induced injuries. When Debbie was about 4 and her brother was 7, her brother's name's Curtis, she was removed from her mother due to there being concerns about their living conditions. There were concerns that there wasn't access to clean clothes, appropriate bedding, or regular meals, and this is when we placed her with Jill and Terry. Jane was very agitated during our interview and was not forthcoming with any information about the pregnancy or early years with Debbie. Jane did reassure us a number of times that she did not drink or use drugs during either of her pregnancies. Antenatal records of Jane's pregnancy with Debbie was only available from 32 weeks and onwards, but there was concern about cigarette smoking. There were repeated concerns of fetal failure to thrive and low fetal growth measurements, and Jane didn't really attend any doctor's appointments after Debbie's birth, so don't really have that much.
Thank you, Erica. I've been working alongside of Erica as I am her occupational therapist, and I've been with Debbie throughout this whole process. So due to her mother's drug and alcohol dependencies, it has left her with fetal alcohol syndrome, and this can see Debbie struggling to often internalise verbal instructions and her emotions. Because of this, she often acts out in aggression and her temperament can be very sporadic at times. Things that often upset Debbie are things like memory loss, not having her own way, and waiting her turn. These are skills in which we are trying to encourage her to learn as they are really important for her development.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed that she has been aggressive towards some of the children in the classroom. Brittany, can you give us an overview of her behaviour and attitudes while attending preschool?
Yep, so Debbie was a part of my preschool classroom for just over a year, so I've worked with her quite a bit. One of her biggest strengths is her independence. She settles very well into the class every day and likes to complete tasks herself, like feeding herself, putting on her sunscreen. The eagerness is great, however she can rush these tasks and therefore not complete them properly, and where it can get angry and aggressive when an educator offers assistance. So this attitude also transfers to her play. She's very keen for construction toys and loves figuring out herself how to use the new toys, but can get angry and aggressive when her peers interfere with the play.
Alright, thank you. So now that we have a knowledge of her background, we could have a quick look at her recent assessments and use these to develop her goals.
Yeah. So as shown in this learning story, Debbie's able to use problem solving and working with new materials. She's very creative with her construction and developing a story to go with her building or what she's created, and she's always eager to share that with her teachers. She's shown an interest in books, especially those which include familiar things like dogs. However, she does have a very basic knowledge of letters and words. I also have her physical development checklist here. As you can see, Debbie has achieved some basic skills such as manipulating Play-Doh, jumping up and down and using art utensils. However, overall her physical abilities are underdeveloped and she's lacking coordination. Debbie finds many fundamental movement skills very difficult and needs a lot of encouragement to participate in them. When she does participate, she often gets frustrated very quickly, gets angry and runs inside. She does not enjoy outside play in general and chooses to stay inside where she can, but when she does play outside, she uses the slide.
These issues with behaviour and physical development can be linked to her diagnosis with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, as some of the features of this syndrome can include significant problems with learning and behaviour, limited attention span, impulsiveness, and a lack of coordination and poor fine motor skills.
Okay, so in her Best Start assessment, Debbie's reading and writing is developing, and this is throughout the year as well, which is fantastic to see. She's holding a pencil which she's learning to write her name and other words with. When she writes a story or draws something, she's able to explain it to us. And I'm happy with this progression to date. She's only just started kindergarten and it's very hard, like the transition is hard for everyone. Debbie's letter and word recognition is just below average, which I'm not overly concerned with, as when we were testing her, she did have a loss of concentration, which we can work on over the year. So after discussing this, I think it's time for us to move on to her main focus area, and I think that should be behaviour and physical development.
Yeah, those are the areas that I'd like to focus on as well. They're my major concerns at home and at school.
Okay. So can I get some input from Brittany and Larissa as to some of the strategies that have been put in place for Debbie's behaviour in relation to aggression and sharing?
Yeah, well, I've suggested to the preschool that we place some visual cues around the class to help Debbie internalise how she is feeling. This is also great that we develop a language for her that she'll be able to understand and verbalise with her inability to share.
Okay.
So in terms of behaviour, if Debbie becomes aggressive, we found trying to talk to her generally did not work. We would then remove her from the situation and leave her to calm down by herself. We've been trying to build up Debbie's communication skills to make her more open to talking when she is angry. We did this by open-ended questioning and encouraging discussion. I also used visual cues in the classroom to give instructions for tasks and routines, which she did respond well to.
Okay, so visual cues seems like something that we could add to the classroom to help with Debbie's routines and expectations what we have. Perhaps a visual contract showing Debbie what is expected of her when she's participating in the classroom. Each of these can be ticked off once she's shown it or completed the task or behaviour, resulting in her having a reward. So these tasks could be keeping her hands to herself, sharing, listening to instructions and taking turns. And once she's completed these tasks, she can get the Lego or the iPad.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Debbie also enjoys having responsibility, so this could be part of the reward. She talks about caring for the class fish and lunch order monitor.
Oh, okay, so we can have maybe 4 options for rewards. So using the Lego, using the iPad, maybe feeding the fish, or being the classroom helper in the afternoon. Do you think this would help at home, Jill?
Yeah, definitely. I can use some of these at home as well. She loves to help with the dog.
Excellent.
That would be great in helping us to add information to Debbie's behaviour documentation.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad we're all on board. I'd like to move to her physical development as well, as this links to the PDHP syllabus as well.
Yeah, in terms of her physical development, it is important that we focus on her fundamental movement skills, as these will form the basis of the rest of her learning.
At preschool, it was hard to engage Debbie, and she would get frustrated easily when she couldn't complete the physical task. So we found it important to gradually introduce the new skills so she can master each step slowly at her own pace. Otherwise, she'll shut down and stop participating altogether.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's the best approach. In each lesson, I'll put a major focus on basic skill association with each activity. Each syllabus includes base skills needed and a unit dedicated to fundamental movement. So these we can focus on with Debbie. I'd like to also incorporate movement into other tasks Debbie enjoys doing, and this will help her engage and keep her interested. We'll focus on the PDHP syllabus about communication skills, so that and expressing emotions and the way she's feeling, so that she can actually tell me when she's getting frustrated in the classroom, and we can put this towards her behaviour in the classroom.
It does sound good, but I am trying to understand why the focus is only on her physical development and behaviour rather than her academic development.
Yeah, so for Debbie, it's more important for us to focus on her behaviour, as it will benefit her in the long run when she in the classroom, and so we can focus on her physical development initially, as it's an area of concern and it will impact all her skills in the classroom. But we will continuously do developing her literacy skills as well as other areas in this school year. But we need to focus on her development. Once she's achieved these areas, she'll be happier and more engaged in the classroom, and then we can shift it to literacy, which is going to be a priority area. So does anyone else have any concerns once they're happy with that?
Cool, so this all sounds great, and the focus of all these goals is Debbie's wellbeing, learning and happiness. This is the initial meeting for all of us to discuss what we want for Debbie. As per our protocol, we can schedule another meeting in 6 months' time. But in the meantime, if there are any concerns, we can schedule a meeting earlier to discuss this.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's been a very successful meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for giving up their time to discuss Debbie and her learning and development. Feel free to contact me if there's any issues, and thank you. You're free to go.
Thanks, guys.